Okay, I don't know if I've used this footage yet, but in case I haven't, I'm using it now. If I have used it, then I'm sorry. There's a bunch of footage that I have, and I've deleted a good chunk of it, at least like 40 gigs worth, maybe, but the rest I'm still not sure of. So there's still a good chunk for me to work on, and I don't know what all has been used and what hasn't been used. So, assuming this hasn't, I'm using it now. You're probably like, oh hey, bro must have got sleep. Bro must be back and ready to play Type Soul or whatever the case may be. And the answer to all of that is a resounding no. I just got back from my last class for the day, so I intend on sleeping, right? But I feel like that's not going to go right. It's not going to go as planned. You see, I had to drop my brother off for work today because he didn't have a working vehicle at the time. So my dad ended up calling me sometime throughout the day and told me, like, hey, you need to drop him off and then go to class, which I didn't even know if I'd be able to do because with the time difference between his job and my class and then still having to wait for him to get to work and get ready for work and then all this stuff, I thought that I'd be late. And if I'm late for class, it's like this whole song and dance because I have like two or three teachers who are pretty anal if you come in late or who make a big deal about it. But I actually ended up making it on time, right? And that was cool. The issue I think I'm going to end up having is that my dad talked about dropping a vehicle off for my brother at his job, but he never said who would be riding with him to drop said vehicle off. So I don't know if it's going to be me, if it's going to be a sibling. I don't know. I have a feeling that it's probably going to be me, though, which means that if I go to sleep, I'm going to probably get woken up in the next hour to 2 hours, sometime around that time frame. Could be wrong, but I've got a hunch that I'm probably going to be the one that gets woken up. I am still pretty tired from this morning. It's not so much drained as a loss of energy, but it's more so like I could go to sleep. I could definitely sleep. But I wanted to make a video because there were some things that were fresh on my mind. First off, and yeah, this is gonna be a rant. Okay, so first rant. I'm in a class, right? I'm in a class where they teach essentially they teach you how to express yourself, how to express your feelings, how to talk, basically, right? It's called interpersonal communication. I took the class twice in my community college years ago. The reason why I had to take it twice was because the first time I had some issue at my community college and my classes basically had to get taken. It was something on my part. And then the second go around, I ended up getting failed. Well, I passed, but it wasn't a high enough grade to pass over. And even if it was, the university I go to doesn't really transfer credits anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But I didn't make a high enough grade because my teacher. So we just talked about this in class, but in all honesty, my teacher actually did fail me for a test that I probably shouldn't have been failed for, mainly because the questions were opinionated. She set them up and worded them to be opinionated. I placed my opinion, and she ended up failing me for it because she didn't like my opinion, which to me is absolutely insane, but it's to be expected, right? Whatever. So I ended up having to take the class again. And technically, I didn't have to take it specifically. I just had to take some kind of speech course. My instructor for my overall major is actually the head of my department. So he basically sets up my classes for the semester. And he kind of just asked me what classes would I be okay with taking. I explained all this in another video, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. But basically, I didn't have a huge say in what it was I wanted, and the professor just kind of threw me in whatever was free, which in this case was interpersonal communication. Okay, whatever. That's cool. That's fine. Great. So I'm taking it again. This go around, so the first go around, it was pretty cool. Everybody was chill. Everybody was pretty funny. The second go, we were having fun and whatnot. The second go around was pretty lame. It was pretty quiet. Everything was kind of serious. Everybody was on edge. The third go around was what I'm in now, and I'm almost done with it. But it's been lively. We talk a whole lot, answer questions, tell stories and whatnot. For the most part, I try not to communicate or share anything in a class just because the longer you talk, the longer we don't get anything done. And it basically stretches out the time that we would have for a test, and I think shortens the time that we would have on test day. So it's kind of like I just listen to people. Sometimes I get called to like speak, but usually it's to tell jokes. So I'm usually like trying to keep people in good spirits or awake. But other than that, I'm usually quiet in class, right? There are a few times where I've said some things that have made everybody laugh or have really like caught people off guard, but for the most part, they expect that when I open my mouth, I'm going to say something that's probably going to be pretty just like insane. And I don't see too big of an issue with it, right? As long as it's not like offending anybody outright or hurting anybody, then hey, like if it makes people laugh, then I'll tell a joke or something to just kind of wake people up. Today, however, I told a joke, and I have a there's a guy in my class who laughs at everything, but he thinks that, and he said that he was like, this guy is one of the funniest guys like I've ever had class with, like so far by far. And the thing is, it's him and like maybe half the class that finds me funny, right? But then there's a small portion of them, and I've heard them complain slightly before, but like now definitely they are just kind of like outright complaining. And the thing is, when I was telling a joke, it's when a teacher had walked out of class, not because like I didn't want the teacher to hear anything, but because we were just talking about stuff in general, and it just came up, right? So the teacher comes back in class, and this guy is trying to get the whole class to hear what I said. Now, I'm not like playing into it because I didn't want to go sharing a joke. I rarely ever like try to repeat myself whenever I say some kind of joke, whether it's like wild and out of pocket or just like a lame joke. I usually don't like speak out in class anyway. I just keep it to myself. But in this case, this guy just really wanted me to, and I was like, nah. And so this guy's trying to tell the joke, it's not coming out right. So then somebody else tries to tell the joke, and then somebody else cuts that person off to tell the joke. And of course, the joke doesn't come off the same way that I said it. It just comes off like watered down and just overall offensive. And instead of just being like, no, I didn't say that or anything like that, I just kept my head down and waited. And the teacher ended up just assuming that that's something that I actually said and went with it and basically treated it as if it's something I said. And the only reason why I'm talking about it now is because we got like a week left in class. And now I've got like this reputation or like image that I'm this kind of person or that kind of person, when that's the furthest from the truth. It's just people only want to hear me when they want to hear me. And even then, it's not like I was outright just talking. Somebody else, which was the guy who thought that I was really funny, was like expressing what I said out to other people, and that's the only reason why it stretched out as far as it did. Basically, what I'm saying is, if I end up getting sent to the office or on some kind of warning or whatever in the last week of school, I'm going to be very pissed off, and I'm going to have some choice words because it's not just me who's been making like any kind of jokes or talking about any and everything. It's just for some reason I'm just being put up for people to like notice and talk about, which is really weird. And it's probably because I don't talk as often, and that's why. But it is what it is, right? So yeah, I'd say to anybody who's coming to community college, universities, or whatever, just because this isn't my first time seeing something like this go down or like being in it, if somebody says something to you, or if somebody's kind of like hinting that like they're trying to threaten you or that they feel uncomfortable by something you're saying, your best bet is just to stop talking about it, even if it is something that does like has nothing to do with them, even if it is like you not talking to them directly, whatever the case may be. If they feel offended by it or if they're upset about it, just drop it and leave it at that. And that goes like not just in universities or colleges, but at work or really just anywhere where it's not solely you and your friends together. Because what I've learned is there's always going to be somebody who has an issue with something that you have to say or something that you say in general, even if like you don't mean it and it comes off as a joking manner and everybody else is laughing, but that one person, you know, if they start talking about taking offense to it and being upset about it, I'd say just bite your tongue and just stop talking overall in that setting, because it's not worth the trouble of trying to explain yourself to whatever higher up, whether it's a boss, manager, teacher, counselor, dean, whatever the case may be. Just leave it at that, because there are a lot of people who are just disconnected from reality, or more so are closed off and think that they know the world just because they're whatever age, or because they're in whatever position, right? They think they know everything essentially. And if whatever you say or do rubs them some kind of wrong way, they'll do whatever they can to try to justify it and take it out on you. And I mean, unfortunately, that's just the world we live in, but it is what it is. Now, granted, some people can argue, hey, you shouldn't be saying this or that in whatever situation, settings, or circumstances anyway, right? And obviously, there is some truth to that. But if you've ever had an actual job, or been in a community, or been in a group where there are a bunch of people who are actively like pushing for you to communicate, who are always making jokes, and even at times making jokes that even you would think would cross the line openly around everybody and laughing about it, then naturally they're trying to create some kind of safe space for you to communicate with them as well. So they're just pushing and pushing to try to bring you into the in group and make you one of them. And so, I mean, the moment you become one of them and everybody's happy, once one person gets, just uncomfortable, at that point, it's just bite your tongue. I mean, I guess it's personally up to you, but in my own experience, I'd say just bite your tongue. Like I said, it's not worth the hassle. It's not worth the stress of having to like talk to whoever and try to explain yourself when you're not the only person who's been in that situation, but of course you're the main one who's being called out. Some people are just overly sensitive. Some people are just immature in the sense of can't take a joke, or want to be upset over anything, or just simply don't like you, which is even stranger in itself, because I don't talk to half of these people. I don't know half of these people, and yet they have an issue with me, and I rarely talk in class as is, but it is what it is. That's just something that I want to talk about. I'm probably going to make 2 or 3 more videos because I'm awake right now at my computer. Eat my balls.